Welcome! You're watching the Thrift Store Rundown, bringing Hollywood home on a budget. We all know what to do when life gives you lemons, but I think we're going to be dealing with a lot more lemons than the ones we see at the farmer's market this summer, in light of recent events. So for the next few weeks, I'm going to be reviewing a series of comfort food cookbooks that not only beckon us to come to the table, but also encourage us to be active participants in discussing not only the ills of America as we see them now, but also the little things that make America great. And no, I'm not talking Muppet in Chief Grace. No. I'm talking about rooted deep in family heritage, traditions that are passed on to the next generation. Great. One of those traditions hopefully include a family dinner, which you should have at the most a few times a week. To reinforce that notion, I bonded an expert who's certainly no stranger to TSR, the venerable David Venable. This good old country boy is no stranger to this northern foodie's perspective. I reviewed the first half of his In the Kitchen with David series of cookbooks, a series of 4 books that all tie into his QVC show. Comfort foods that take you home and back around the table. Today he's back on my table for round 3. Round 3 is Comfort Food Shortcuts, with a foreword by Valerie Bertinelli. Yes, that Emmy and Golden Globe winning Valerie Bertinelli, whose time is also coming. This book, like the first 2 In the Kitchen with David books, and the last one, half homemade, fully delicious, which we'll be saving for next week, is a Ballantine Books publication, and I picked it up for $3.99. And now I hand the floor over to David to give you a little appetizer, if you will, of what's to come in Comfort Food Shortcuts, including demonstrations of one of the dessert recipes highlighted in the book.
The word on the street is you're coming out with another cookbook.
Well, you've heard correctly. I've got a brand new cookbook coming out, Comfort Food Shortcuts. 110 recipes, and every recipe is 10 ingredients or less, and most, if not all, contain what I call a supermarket shortcut, a prepackaged ingredient that help you get to the finish line a little quicker. And I thought today I would show you one of the recipes that's in the book. This particular one is very special to me because it's one that my mom inspired. Now I'd love to show you how to make it.
Good, because while I love to cook, I'm a terrible baker, David.
We're going to put a butter, sugar, cinnamon mixture and pour that all over top. And then there's a secret supermarket shortcut to come after that. So why not pop this in the microwave just long enough to melt it, and we'll get it all squared away so that we're ready to go with the sauce.
So what other recipes are inspired by family members or anybody who's been in your life?
There's a marvelous meatball lasagna in there, which I love. And my mother worked full-time when I was a little boy, and she raised us alone, single parent. So we really had to rely a lot on some of these shortcuts before they were really kind of cool, So now everything's nestled inside. We'll pop this into the oven. Takes about 35 minutes.
Okay.
See how all the sugar and the soda caramelizes on top, so you get almost like a little sugar crust. This tastes an awful lot like peach cobbler. Give it a try. So pretty. Isn't it good?
So as David just mentioned, there is a, quote, marvelous recipe for meatball lasagna, combining 2 comfort foods in one, meatballs and lasagna. You can't go wrong there. Here's a super easy lasagna that eliminates time-consuming steps by using jarred tomato sauce, frozen meatballs, and no-boil lasagna noodles. Just 3 of the 5 supermarket shortcuts that this recipe calls for. The other 2 being shredded mozzarella and Italian seasoning. You'll find all of the supermarket shortcuts at the beginning of the book. However, the focal point of this review will be based upon an invention which I haven't talked about in, well, ever. Air frying. And what is air frying? Well, I could read the beginning of this chapter explaining the air fryer, or I could hand it over to another expert who's British, hint hint, to explain the benefits of using an air fryer. It's definitely a healthier way to enjoy fried finger foods. And beyond. And by beyond, I mean honey bourbon chicken wings, mini English muffin pizzas. And speaking of pizzas, at the beginning of this book, in the appetizer section, there's a recipe for artisan caprese flatbreads. Definitely more upscale, definitely more lighter than this, but this is more fun than that. You get what I'm saying? Mashed potato bacon bombs. The ease of leftovers makes this snack come together in no time at all. David's kind of a mashed potato fiend, but he's more of a mac and cheese connoisseur. You know, he loves his mac and cheese, and as far as bacon goes, well, it's the divine swine. Not my words, David's words. Chicken nuggets with honey mustard and pretzel crumbs, beef empanadas, shredded chicken taquitos, fried rice, Brussels sprouts. And by the way, David's definitely not a Brussels sprouts fan, but many of his foodies are. So this is kind of like throwing a treat to them. I would say bone, but that's vegetarianness. Or is it? Let me look at the ingredients. No bacon. Nothing meat related in here at all. Yep, vegetarian. Not that there's anything wrong with that. An apple and blueberry cobbler, and banana spring rolls with peanut butter chocolate sauce. Sugared bananas are rolled up in egg roll wrappers, air fried, and served with a peanutty and chocolatey dipping sauce. Yes, folks, spring rolls are not just limited to appetizers or main meals. You can even use egg roll wrappers for desserts such as this. I chose this chapter, by the way, because I thought it had the most variety to it. Majority of the recipes are appetizers with a couple of main dishes and a couple of desserts that you saw in here. And speaking of desserts, in the desserts proper chapter, we have here the recipe that David demonstrated, peach enchiladas. My mother has a dear group of girlfriends who call themselves the Golden Girls. Mom told me about this dessert after one of the girls served it at their monthly card game. I put this own spin on these sweet enchiladas by adding cream cheese to the filling for richness. Serve them warm with a scoop of vanilla ice cream or whipped cream. I learned how to cook from the best, my mom, and I'm still learning. His mom, Sarah, I believe is definitely one hell of a pal and a confidant. I think we should all say thank you, David's mom, for being such a friend. Speaking of saying thank you, I'm definitely proud of David for including a thank you to all of his fruity friends who watch In the Kitchen with David every Sunday and Wednesday. Quote, I am so grateful to each one of you. Our show has become one big family, and I cherish the time we spend together. You inspire me each day to reach further and work harder so we can all enjoy great food together. I humbly thank you. You know what, man? The feeling is mutual. In all four of his books, he actually does acknowledge the fans who watch this show. And you know what? I might just be one of them one day. I think it's high time I start watching In the Kitchen with David. This retails for $30 in the US, $40 in Canada. And as we take our random picture walk in here, let's explain this book a little bit more. So, the majority of your requisite staple comfort foods are included in here, with a bunch of supermarket shortcuts to streamline recipe prep. There's also equipment prep tips in here as well. And as far as the photography goes, well, that too gets a big check in the box. The photographs in here look sumptuous and delicious, inviting, homey, comforting, appetizing. I can go on and on with my myriad of adjectives, just in praise of David for making comfort foods more accessible than they ever have been before. Which is actually kind of an easy feat to do, but David does it in his good old southern charming way. With regard to the supermarket shortcuts in here, while they do a good job of streamlining meal prep, they may be a little bit difficult to find, and that will be dependent on the supermarket that you live nearby and have access to, the aisles, their availability, etc. So those factors to come into play, because the majority of these supermarket shortcuts are indeed very specific to look for. But hey, you ask for the grocery store or supermarket employees, they should be happy to help out, especially if you tell them that you're going to be whipping up a recipe from one of David Venable's cookbooks and their fellow foodie who watches In the Kitchen with David. Then you know you got a bonus. Give yourself a break. Not everything has to be made from scratch. Whether it's prepackaged ingredients or a revolutionary appliance that gets the job done more easily, you now have permission to take shortcuts. That way, you and yours can spend more time talking at the table instead of getting the food there. As I've shared with you on my TV show and in previous cookbooks, my mom and grandmothers taught me that meals should be balanced, delicious, and time-saving. They also instilled in me that much of the joy of cooking is about the joy of sharing food with others. Comfort Food Shortcuts allows you to spend less time cooking and more time with your family and friends. We got some big plans for this. Next week, we plan on taking this to David's house. And no, not David Venable's house. Sadly, he lives in Pennsylvania, which is a bit too far from us. That's where his show is taped. No, the David that's close to home here at TSR. We're taking this to David O'Malley's house to film the review there, and hopefully we'll get David to rip up a recipe from this book, or something else that comes off on the top of his head. David knows how to cook. So either way, I can't wait for next week. But in the meantime, it's safe to say that this dude knows comfort food like the guts of his very thankful country cider belly. I can't say beer belly because I don't know if David partakes in that particular indulgence, but what I know for sure is that because of his prowess, us fellow foodies ought to be very thankful as well.
Hello. Hello guys, it's David Romero. I'm gonna be famous.
And you're having dinner with me. Alright, I'm just saying, I just want to sit here and relax, enjoy food, and, just about everything. I already ate, I want some more. I'm greedy, but, sometimes I'm gonna get better with my food. Garrett Studios, sponsored by Gatorade, and you can get it in stores, and, Well, they're about to become teenagers. And they also like, full around me from school. I'm gonna upload a school video, so obviously not the bad stuff like we did to a guy that always bothers us in school too, and you know who I'm talking about. And if you're watching this, yeah, you should not put that comment because I know it. And thank you. And this is, I'm having chicken sandwich. That they made for me. Honestly, he left because he asked work that late. It's the second time though. Like that to be alone, honestly. So if you go to my how to make a delicious ham and cheese sandwich, we make the perfect sandwich for you. Good meal. And that's it. Please subscribe, like, comment, rate, and a good son. Alright guys, time to wrap it up. Good day.
Thanks for watching TSR. Now, to see another awesome review like this one, click here. If you want to become a Hollywood bargain hunter, click here to subscribe. And I'll catch you on the thrift side.